This is going to be a very quick demo because this is very simple. There isn't much to show.
Joel, come on, concentrate. It's not a great way of starting a presentation. It's
no,
awesome.
Because you will see that the advantage is the PnP controls.
No, but true. That's fair point as well. But it is actually a pretty nice way of demonstrating the usage of the controls, and the functionality is pretty cool. So thank you, Joel, for that. Take it away.
So I'm a SharePoint developer who work remotely for Storm, a company based in Dublin. If you want to follow my blog or on Twitter, feel free, you have the details there. So why this simple extension? We did a migration for a client who just loved folders. They had a shared drive with hundreds of thousands of folders there. We did manage to convert some of that structure into metadata when migrating to SharePoint, but there was a lot of things there that they wanted to keep exactly as it was because it related to other business processes they had. And the whole teams were just used to work in that way, and that was not for discussion. And so when we migrated to SharePoint, the first complaint we had from users was that they could not find the folders they wanted unless they will just scroll forever on a document library, because we're talking about 2,000-3,000 documents per level, and sometimes, folders per level, sometimes 5, 6, 7 levels deep. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of scrolling. So I have a document library here with 2,000 folders. If I want to go to a folder like 400, as you can imagine, we load 30 items at a time, and I will be here for a while. We can also go here and use the search box, but actually in this example, it showed what I wanted to show you. You just couldn't find it. And even though the search is great, it doesn't always gives you what you want when for example, if you have naming conventions which are very similar between items, which was their case. So the search was not very useful. So we built a simple extension that we deploy to every library. You click here. It uses PnPjs, of course, to load all the folders, and it's super fast. So this is 2,000 folders being loaded, and it takes 2 seconds. And then the only thing we had was, and you can also come here and scroll super fast, because why wouldn't? The only thing we had was basically a filter box. I go to folder 400, and then if there was more folders here, I can show you. We'll just keep loading the 3, and you can go back and forward using the breadcrumb and the selection. And it just simply allows you to go straight to that folder. This might sound very simple, but it was a massive time saver for them, and definitely would be for other people. So I asked them for permission to share the code, and the solution is now available on the samples gallery for extensions. Go there and do whatever you want with it. I'll show you the code. It's super simple. I also wrote a very simple blog post where I have a demo here. If you can have a look, why some of the reasons. And I will show you this one in a second. So let me show you the code. So the extension itself is on the execute. We show a panel, which is basically a custom component we have here, and pass it some properties. Basically, what is the root folder we are exploring, and the default folder in this case was the same, but we could open the file explorer in a different default location if we wanted to. And on our custom panel, we basically have a panel, the folder explorer, and the buttons. So when you select a folder, we put that folder in state. If you click on the go to, we just redirect you to that folder. That's simple as that. Of course, there was more code here when I first created it, which was the logic to load folders and go back and forward on the breadcrumb, and a few more things like if I go here, you can also, actually not in this one because it's disabled, I think. Yeah, so you also have the option to create a new folder by switching property to true. But all the logic is now wrapped in a reusable control. So I extracted that control, submitted to the PnP reusable controls, which is, oops, wrong one. There. So it's very easy to use. You can have information here if you want to do something else. This was also the control that was just released on a few previous slides on the call. So that control just uses the folder explorer to just add a picker around it. So just reusing the same thing again here. And I created a copy and move extension, which also uses this control to copy between different SharePoint locations or OneDrive. So if you have similar needs that use the folder structure a lot, feel free to go and get it. That's me, Vesa.
Now, Joel, can we go one more time, the process, go to the folder, and then the reason why, don't downplay your demo, because the reason why this is really cool is that this is really polished a sample addressing a real customer scenario. And sure, it is taking advantage of SharePoint framework and those extension points, but it's really polished. The jumper folder looks right like it should be, right next to the other buttons. It opens up the panel like a lot of the out-of-the-box experiences as well. And this basically is one of those things with a lot of the developers are still looking into how could I do this in a polite and a nice, let's say in a polished way. So having a sample which, yes, from a implementation perspective might be simple. It really demonstrates the simplicity of this model, and then people can adapt. Oh, this is how I do panels, and this is how I actually return to values. So therefore, really great demo. So really cool stuff.
So this takes just a small amount of time to create, and it's a massive time saver and for the company because the people just don't waste time navigating around. So it's a good investment.
And it's a really good example why SharePoint framework is really powerful, because now we save time from the customer, and obviously Microsoft will probably never implement this kind of things by natively because that's not a typical use case. But then for this particular customer, it makes perfect sense. So having those extensibility points even in buttons and menus makes a lot of sense. But thank you, Joel, for that one. A lot of good feedback also on the chat. So really, really great stuff.
Thank you. If someone has any questions, I will go to the chat now.
Excellent. Thanks, Joel.